Okay, in this video we're going to take you from how you go from an assembly here to a finished working drawing or an assembly drawing as seen in the assignment. So what we're going to do is we're going to run back here to OnShape and we're going to go ahead and start setting this up so we can have our different assembly drawings, our exploded drawing, orthographics with isometrics, orthographics with isometrics here set up. So I'm going to jump back here into OnShape, and the first thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and select this little plus down at the bottom of the screen. And then we want to hit this Create Drawing button. And what I find is once we go ahead and hit this Create Drawing button, it doesn't matter if you hit All, hit ANSI, we're going to go ahead and create this ANSI A drawing file, and then what I find is it takes quite a while for this to load. Not sure why, but actually this happened pretty quickly this time. So that's fantastic, but it often this drawing file does take a while to load, so I just have to wait and let it go. But that being said, what we're going to do now is we're going to go right ahead and change this over to a B-size sheet. Looking at this example, I could tell immediately if we're going to go ahead and lay this stuff out at the scale of 1 to 2, we're going to definitely need to have a much larger sheet right off the bat. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and close out of the insert part area. I'm going to also close out of insert part here, and I'm going to open up the sheets over here on the right side. This is like my sheet browser, and then at this point I'm going to go ahead and just right click. There I can get my sheet properties, drawing properties, and the like. I'm going to go ahead and grab the sheet properties and go right ahead and change this size A to be a B size sheet. So I'll keep the rest of the border and title block all the same, and then go ahead and hit my green check. Now I'm ready to start importing objects. So I'll go up here to the insert view, and from here I want to go ahead and find, well, what am I going to insert? So I hit insert again. And right now I have parts that I want to go ahead and put in here. I have the arm and I have the wall plate. Clicked on this Part Studio. This high hold screw, this is going to be the screw. So there's my drywall screw. So I can see all the parts that I want to put in here. So I'll go ahead and place a part just so we can start working through this. First thing I'll do is go ahead and grab that drywall screw. Pull this over, and this is saying at a 2 to 1. That's going to be huge. So we're going to go ahead and see what we can change this up to be. Maybe even set this up right now to 1 to 1 would be just fine. So I would go ahead and drop this in position. That would be my front view, and go right ahead and drop this as my right side view. And with the fastener, you just want to show the head drive type, and then also a side view. Not necessary to give a top view. It's going to be the exact same as the front. The only other thing we'll do is we'll grab a projected view here of the fastener and set that up here in this position. Gives us a good view of the fastener. So the next thing we would do is go ahead and start dropping center lines on, and we'll run a center line right down the center of the fastener. And then we'll also go ahead and set up a center mark on the fastener as well. So just unfortunately, OnShape, one of the things it does not do well is set up center lines and center marks. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and set up that 2-point center line across my part here so I can have an extended center mark. From that point, we'll go ahead and add slightly more information here. A little more information about the diameter of the head. We'll also get the overall length of this fastener from point to point. There's my 2.25 information here. So we'll come up, we'll grab that dimension tool again, and we'll get a major diameter, meaning what is the major diameter of that thread. So we'll pull this out and drop that. So next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and get that scale. To do that, we'll mouse over the view, we'll right click, and we come down to View Properties, and the View Properties sheet pops up here, and we hit the check at the bottom for a scale label, and that pops up there for us. So we'll go ahead and hit that green check. So one of the last things we'll do here is we're going to add a note for this fastener, and what we can do is just zoom in here and take a look at the note. It says drywall screw, black phosphate steel, number 6, 2 1/4 long, McMaster car. All right, so we can go ahead and get that information put in underneath of this screw. Now, probably one of the easiest ways and most accurate ways would be to jump back to McMaster Car, and in this product detail information, we could easily just go ahead and highlight what we want, do a Control C, jump back here into OnShape, and then grab our text tool, and then we'll go ahead and just create a note, pasting that information into the note. And then we'll just pull the text out so that we can position this however would work best in this particular instance. So finished up with that note. Now I just need to pull some things around here. So we'll go and put the scale up. We'll go ahead and put this note underneath of it. So we now know exactly what piece of information that is. All right. Okay, now we're ready to jump on to our next piece. We'll jump back into Insert, and we'll come down to Part Studio now. We'll grab the arm, and this will change up hopefully here to the arm here. Yep, should be Part Studio arm. Good. And I'm going to change this. This is not the front view that I want, so I'm going to just go ahead and change this and see. Let's see what the right side looks like. And yep, we'll keep turning. I want it to face the other direction. Left, yep, that'll fit on my sheet better. 1-to-1 obviously is going to be huge, and with dimensioning, probably be a little bit tight with the other piece here. So let's just go ahead and do a 1-to-2, and that seems like that's going to fit nicely, given the fact that we're going to go ahead and give 3 views here. So there's my top, and now we'll get my projected view of my front. And now we're ready to go ahead and start, well, actually, no, we're not going to be ready to dimension because I see no hidden lines. So I want to right click on the view, and then I want to hit show hidden lines. We'll do the same thing on this view here, show hidden lines, and then also the right side. All right, now I can start to see some hidden lines showing up, and now we're ready to start dimensioning. So to do that, one of the first things we're going to go ahead and do is grab your center mark tool and center line your hole here, and then we'll go ahead and set up a, oops, find that to be slightly tedious, but what we got to do. All right, so there we go. We have a center mark on that hole. We'll need to get a bisector through the center of this hole for that center mark, and then this center mark is actually running across the top of this part here, so we could just go ahead and pull from side to side here a center mark so it extends. All right, so now we have our center marks. Now we're ready to continue with our dimensioning. So pretty standard dimensioning is going to apply here. We'll go from the back of the part to the center of the hole. We'll go ahead, we'll get an overall on this top view. Pull that down here and position that. And I'll probably take this scale for this particular view and get rid of that. If I have the scale down here, it's going to clean things up a little bit. And we'll go ahead and get the information for this particular hole, and then also for this outside arc, we need that. And what else can we give here? Well, we definitely need some height information, so how tall is this part from one side to the other? All right. And probably got a nice flat area down here, so how far over does this come before we go up on an angle? Now we probably want to find out what angle are we talking about here. So we'll go ahead and grab the dimension tool, and we'll get a dimension, and probably the best angle to pull from would really be this vertical, not necessarily this flat. So given that, go ahead and one more piece here saying that this part is going to be 0.75 in thickness. It should be close to that. There we go, 0.75 in thickness. So this part's probably pretty darn close to being dimension. One more thing here though I see are these fillets. So this is really where I probably need to put a note on this. So I'm going to double click on there, and this comes up, and I should be able to add in some information here to say all rounds. There we go. All right, so now I have that information put. So I have to move this a little bit so that it's a little less obtrusive here in my drawing. There we go, it's a little bit better. And we'll go ahead and pull this a little bit so that things a little easier to read. Okay, good. So all rounds 0.125. Got thickness, got length, got everything else here, and looks like we're pretty good and ready to move on. Although when I zoom out, I notice that I'm missing my isometric. So I'll grab my projected view, grab my front view, bring this up and off to the side here, and then drop that view. And see, yeah, it looks pretty good. Although I don't want to show hidden lines, so hit escape, then right click, and turn off those hidden lines. That way I can just get a good look at that isometric view. All right, so ready to make a new sheet because I need to have a new sheet here. And what to do to make a new sheet, you're going to come up here to the top of the sheets one, hit this little plus with insert sheet, and that's going to create a second sheet. This sheet comes right in as a size sheet, so you got to go ahead and change this into a B, and then green check. And now we're ready to insert our next part. So we'll get into the studio. That'll be this wall plate. Okay, now I don't necessarily think I need to run through all the dimensioning on the wall plate. It's going to be fairly standard, and obviously your parts are going to be different than my parts here. So setting up this, again, make sure you pick your 3 views. Make sure you pick the 3 views that you want to display for your front, right, and top views. Okay, don't forget hidden lines. Some things that are generally not showing up here are hidden lines, so make sure those get turned on when you move through your drawing. Don't forget center marks. Don't forget some of the basic dimensions. Okay, so instead of running through this entire drawing, what I'm going to do is grab a new sheet here, and essence of time, I'm going to go ahead and start showing you pulling in the other pieces that we may not have done as much of, and that's going to be the working drawing and the assembly itself. So what we'll do is I'll grab the insert tool here and insert again, and this time I'm going to go to assemblies, and you can see there's the full assembly. So I'll go ahead and grab that because I know I need to lay out the full assembly also, and I'll take this back to that 1 to 2, which seems to be working out really well as far as size goes. And I want to change up this particular view because I want this turned. So let's just go ahead and say, let's look at this thing from, say, the left side and get a preview here. Yep, and this looks like the side I want to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this as my front view. I'm going to bring this up to my top position, so I'm going to look down on the part. I can then start looking to see, well, what else do I need to recreate here? I also want to do an isometric, and really I don't think I'm going to gain any additional information from a right side of this assembly. So what I'll do is I'll grab a projected view of the front for my assembly isometric. And that's going to pretty well explain the part. Now what I can do here is give some overall information. I would go into this and definitely say I would definitely need to tell what is the scale. So let's get the view properties, get that scale turned on. So the scale's on here, and then I definitely also want to show center marks for whole features. So information there for that. And then we'll just go ahead and give some overall assembly information here. So how big is this thing if it's completely assembled? Has that changed in size at all from its component parts? And what's happening there for its complete size? So go ahead and just lay on some overall pieces of information here on this part. Definitely want to then also show a scale on your isometric drawing. Last things I'll do here is grab some text and is this going to work? There we go. Note these parts, and we'll just go ahead and copy this over to here as well. So I'm noting the parts that are shown. This is a full assembly bike rack. This is a bike rack as well. So there's your assembly set pieces of information, full assemble there. Now, next thing we'll do is add another drawing sheet. And again, we need to set up that sheet to be a B-size sheet. So B-size sheet is set, and now we'll go insert, and we'll then insert again. This time we grab assemblies. We'll grab the assembly as well, but then here what we want to do is we want to then tell this thing not to use, not to use the default, but to use the explode 1. So this position here is going to be the explode 1 position, and then we also want to tell it that we want this to be the isometric view. Now you can see this thing's huge, so we'll jump back into scale, find that 1 to 2 that's been working so well, and pull this back onto the sheet and click. It goes ahead and drops that exploded view drawing here. We can now go and find our bill of materials, which is sitting at the top here, the BOM table. And that's going to come on over, and we'll drop that down here right above the abbreviated title block. And you can also see, because we changed those names, that's showing up properly. Now we're ready to balloon our drawing. So we'll grab that call out tab, and got to make sure that you actually click on the object, pull off, and then click again. So object, pull off, click again. Keep these things nice and neat. Don't go willy-nilly pulling these all over the place, making them look like whiskers, or actually whiskers are kind of organized, but some type of crazy drawing tree. But just try to keep things nice and neat, orderly as far as the way you're pulling things off your part, so that you can recognize where they're coming from. So there we go. So we got our balloon set. This particular drawing, I'm going to go ahead and right click. Let's get that view property for the scale set. So there's our scale turned on. And then the last thing we can do is go ahead and paste the bike rack text on top of that view. So pretty fast and simple once you get to that drawing point and get past those orthographics. Those orthographics definitely take some time to get the dimensioning correct. But once you get to the rest of these, it's fairly straightforward. One other thing we're going to go ahead and add to this is going to be some text. And the text that we're going to go ahead and put here is going to be for the assembly. So this assembly is going to get screwed, but it's also going to have some glue applied to this rabbet joint. So we're going to go ahead and say apply glue to joint at assembly. All right, and go ahead and set that up into position. Now the only other thing is I also want to have a leader running to that, pointing to that area to give this a little bit more clarity. To get a leader to pop up, you select the text, right click, and come down to add leader. And then you just want to go ahead and pull this leader around, and the leader will jump to either side. So just go ahead and get that leader into the right position. Come on, Mr. Leader. Likes to actually connect to something on the drawing. So then we'll go ahead and do a Control C and a Control V, and we'll drop this to the other side as well. And then we'll point to, grab that leader to point over here to this rabbet joint. So we've got to zoom in here to make sure this thing's going to point to the proper area. There we go. All right, so apply glue to rabbet joint. We're all set, and hopefully this helps get you at least started, so that as you work through your own assembly drawings, you have a good idea of which way to head and where to go. All right, good luck.